A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Thank you all for joining this essay writing tip session to be conducted by Brother Zain. I will start with Quran recitation and then I will hand over to Brother Zain. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Brother Zain, over to you. You are co-host and you can start sharing the presentation. Thank you.
Jazakallah, Brother Abbas. I really appreciate it. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, young ones, old ones, and I hope our parents are also with us. Inshallah, this workshop that will be conducted today is not just obviously going to help you with the competition that's coming up and give you some tips about that, but inshallah, it's also will help all our kids and participants to just get a bit of an idea of how to write an essay anyway, because they'll be doing it in school, so in high school, especially in high school and in college and inshallah university. A little bit of background about me. I've been a teacher for 12 years now. Alhamdulillah, I've been teaching at various colleges in Australia. I've also taught in the UAE as well at a university over there. And then currently I'm teaching in Canberra at Dixon College. So my students are from year 11 and year 12. So obviously by that time, I've had them more towards the end of their schooling years. So obviously they've gone through primary school, then high school, and now they come to me in college, so year 11 and 12. I guess being in that position allows me to have a bit of an understanding of what they're being taught in primary school, high school, and then obviously when they come to us. So I come with a little bit of experience knowing where the gaps are, and hopefully inshallah I can help you in your journeys, personal journeys anyway, in your careers inshallah, but also with this competition. I'm pretty sure that my screen is being shared with everybody, so we'll start. So the structure of the workshop will be is that if you could keep your mics on mute during the session, I'll really appreciate that. And if you've got a really desperate question you want to ask, write them down, okay, on a piece of paper, because at the end, around 20 minutes in, we'll have a Q&A for about 10 minutes, okay, and I can answer your questions after that. So keep an eye on the screen. Write some notes if you want to. I hope parents are there as well so they can hear in. And inshallah, and I just want a bit of a disclaimer. I know that we've got 3 different age groups. I know that we've got people from all around the world, mashallah, going to be competing in this competition. Please do understand that what I'll be teaching is a little bit of background. It's general sort of information. Obviously, I can't specifically teach a young kid how to write an essay or someone in year 12 to write an essay. So I've tried to make it as accessible for as many people as I can, inshallah, not just for a specific age group. So please keep that in mind and write down notes if you want to, and also write down your questions. So let's go. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So how to write a good essay? Now, the first question that I'm sure comes to your mind all the time when you're at school. Why an essay? Why do I have to write an essay? This is a question I hear in the corridors when kids are going from English class to this English class, or this law class to another psychology class. First assignment comes up and all of them say, why do we have to write essays, right? And why is this competition asking me to write an essay? Okay. So let's try to answer these questions, okay? Now, some of the things I've written on the PowerPoint are just general statements, but they're really, really important to understand, okay? So an essay is used to assess the strength of your thinking, your critical thinking, and then your ability to put that understanding and your thinking into an academic written form, okay? It is important in all our lives because it increases understanding and helps the process of learning, because it pushes you, it really does push you, amongst other things, to clarify and sort out ideas and information, to analyze source material, and then to exercise critical judgment. In other words, an essay pushes you to use every single important skill that you will need to be successful in life. Okay. But it is the best way and the only way now to express yourself in a written way, in a concise, structured, and a formal way. Okay. So when you go to university, inshallah, when you go to college and high school, professors, okay, experts in the field, they will write essays, okay? They write research papers because they are the best way to get information across in the most impactful manner, okay? It's concise, it's structured, and it's also academic and it's formal, okay? Because of all of these things, essay writing is important. And no matter what you do in your life, doesn't matter where you are, okay, if you can develop essay writing skills and if you can become good at it, you can be successful in any endeavor you want to go towards. Okay, that's why it's important. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, I'm sure you're all wondering, what does a good essay look like? What is the structure of it? Typically speaking, an essay has three components. Okay, you have your introduction paragraph, then you have body paragraphs, and then you have a conclusion. Again, a disclaimer here. A good essay is well structured and it is easy to follow. Okay? Always have in the back of your mind. Doesn't matter how well you write, doesn't matter how good your ideas are. If your essay is not well structured, okay, and if it is not easy to follow, your audience gets lost. Okay, these are some of the key words I want you to pick up on. All right? An essay is well structured and it is easy to follow for your audience. All right? Now, what is an introduction? A good introduction should include three main things. An opening hook to catch the reader's attention. Ask yourself one basic question when you write an introduction. I need to give my audience a reason to read my essay. That is why that opening statement in your introduction is the catch or is the hook. You can either catch them and hook them or you don't, okay? But if you can come up with a really, really strong opening line or opening sentence and you catch them and you get their attention, that's a good introduction. Think about a movie, for example, right? All the good movies out there. Think about the beginnings. They know, the directors know that if we don't capture the minds of our audience at the beginning, our audience will walk out of the cinema. Or if you're on Netflix, they'll turn it off and go to the next movie. So just like a movie needs that catch, that hook, your introduction needs that catch and that hook, okay? Number two, it has relevant background information that the reader needs to know. And then, this is crucial, a thesis statement that presents your main point or argument. Now, because the nature of this essay is a little bit different, I'll be expanding on this in much more detail, okay? But typically speaking, an introduction needs to have a thesis statement, a thesis, okay? A central core idea, all right? Body paragraph, okay? You can have 3, you can have 5, you can have 2. It depends on the nature of your task. For this one, I would say 2, okay? Because 600 to 800 words, you probably want to have more than 2 body paragraphs. But the next part of the good essay structure is body paragraphs. Now, a really good question that's asked to me when I'm in college in year 11 and 12, especially when the students come to me in year 11. They say, can we use subheadings? Typically speaking, in a literature essay, so an English literature essay, you wouldn't be able to use subheadings. But in any other essay, I would strongly advise you to use subheadings, okay? To give your audience a clear understanding of what that paragraph is going to be about. It also helps you as the writer to know exactly what that paragraph is going to be about anyway, okay? So use subheadings too. But a body paragraph is simply, it expands on your main points. Remember, 1 point per paragraph only, and you really unpack that in detail. You unpack that point in depth, okay? And the way you do that is you provide evidence to support your overall point with examples from hadith, or from hadith from the 14 infallibles, or from great scholars, okay? And then at the end, you make sure that you link your main idea back to your overall point or your idea that you had introduced in your thesis, okay? I'll expand on some of these in much more detail, so don't worry. And then a conclusion, all right? Basically speaking, because we're going to be going in much more detail, your essay's conclusion should contain a rephrased version of your overall thesis. Now, I'm going to be talking about what a rephrased means, okay? A brief review of the key points, and then an indication of why your argument matters, okay? I will be expanding on all of these in much more depth as we go on, inshallah. The next question I'm sure you're wondering is, how do I start? Every single time a student gets an essay assignment, a research essay, or this one, okay, the first thing that comes and pops in their mind is, where do I start? How do I navigate through the challenges that are going to come my way? The best way to make sure you do not get stuck anywhere, or you don't fall trap of an overburdening of information that you might research, is you plan out your essay, okay? But don't overplan it. Okay, some people sometimes write a plan that's pretty much an essay. Don't do that. Okay, make it easier for yourselves. Use dot points, use headings, okay, to make sure you know exactly what your plan is. Just plan out your essay. And in your essay, okay, I'll explain that in point number 2, okay, have a clear idea. But anyways, let's go with number 1, okay? So in the planning phase, you sit down and you choose a surah that you would like to write about. In other words, do not choose a surah because you think the judges might be impressed by that, okay? Or it seems to be hard, it's large, it's big. Let's do that because the judges might be impressed by that. Don't make that mistake. Or don't do it because your parents are asking you to do it. Sorry, parents, this is the only time I'm going to say where students say, to their parents, don't listen to them. I'm not saying that. Okay, the only time I'm going to say that I want this time, you need to use your own independence, because you must choose a surah that connects to you the most, because this is a reflective essay. You are reflecting on a surah. How does this surah impact you personally? If you choose something that somebody else wants to do, how are you going to reflect on that in a meaningful way? So choose something that connects, that you feel connection with, okay? That you have a relationship with. Now, once you have chosen that surah, come up with a central point. This is crucial. If I could make the screen massive, I would have this part bold, 150 font, okay? Normally speaking, an essay is a response to a specific question. I'm sure you've come across that, okay? So typically speaking, your central point, which is referred to as your thesis, would be a direct answer to the question being asked. And it would be in a sentence or 2 sentences. And that will formulate your thesis statement. And that becomes the key or the central focal point of your whole essay, okay? But in this essay, you are not answering a specific question, and I understand that, okay? I completely understand that. You are writing a reflective essay piece. So what is your central point? Let me just break this down a little bit for you. as we all know, okay, and I'm sure the parents would know this, and if there's anybody else, any of our scholars who have joined us today, each surah has many layers and many practical life lessons, no doubt about it, okay. And all the surahs that we've given you that to choose from, one of them you could talk about 100 things, right? That is where you can formulate a central point then. So when you're writing down, when you've chosen a surah and you start doing your research and you find this point, this point, this point, this point, and this reflective piece, and this reflective piece, or this practical lesson, in a 600 to 800 words, you can't list every single one of them. You just can't. So what do? You choose the most powerful points and you then expand and you unpack them in depth. And these become your focal central point. It becomes, make them the centerpiece of your essay. Okay? Now, please, if you've got some questions around this, write them down because I've said this is really important. In an essay, sometimes students make a very, very common mistake, and that is the more ideas I have, the better. You've heard that saying, quality over quantity. In an essay, that is the most truthful statement I can come up with. Quality over quantity. Okay? Do not make that mistake, thinking that your judges or your audience, they want as many ideas thrown at them. No. You will lose your audience. You'll lose them. And you will fall trapped to that too. You will lose yourself too. Okay? So have clear ideas, one or two, and really unpack them. And they become the center point or the focal point of your essay. Okay, and I'll expand on this in much more detail in a second. All right? All right, what does a good body paragraph look like? First off, have a clear topic sentence. A topic sentence or key sentence is the first sentence of your paragraph that prepares your audience for what information is to come. It's one sentence, clearly outlining to your audience what this body paragraph is going to be about. Now, that topic sentence is important for two reasons. Number one, it tells your audience what that paragraph is going to be about. But number two, which I think is more important, is that then you can make sure if your body paragraph has one point only that you've unpacked. Remember, if you go on and halfway between your paragraph, you're halfway down, and you've written something that doesn't directly link back to your topic sentence, it's a different point, get rid of it. You don't need it, okay? You've then introduced a new idea, okay? And in this, two body paragraphs, so the first body paragraph, make it big enough, and make sure that body paragraph is unpacked in enough depth about that one topic that you have introduced. Okay. Now, supporting sentences is the next part. Okay. Now, obviously, this is going to be available for everybody. Okay, because we're recording this. All right. But body paragraphs contain information that allows you to back up your claims with supporting points and examples. So you start to use those sources. Okay. Hadith, scholarly commentary. Okay, to back up and add weight to your arguments and your points. But that concluding sentence becomes important too. Okay, after you've listed everything down and you've made your argument or you put your reflective pieces on the piece of paper and you've provided evidence for it, right at the end, make sure you tell your audience how all of this relates back to your central point in your introduction, that thesis. Make sure that it connects back to that thesis. If you come at the end and you find that that whole body paragraph has got nothing to do with my thesis statement, or has got nothing to do with my core point in my introduction, I'm sorry, but you're going to get rid of it. Okay? This is why sometimes, I just not something what I do, but I know a lot of scholars out there and a lot of professionals out there, they would write their body paragraphs first and then they will write the introduction. You might want to do that. Okay, you might want to do that. But I like to write my introduction, or at least have that thesis statement in front of me to make sure that each of my body graphs link back to that central argument. Don't overcomplicate your body paragraphs. Don't try to add as much detail and as much point as I can in one body paragraph. It doesn't work, okay? One main topic sentence, really unpack that in depth, okay? All right. Now, in the competition, you are going to be judged on how you back up your claims, or how do you demonstrate that you've done deep research. Okay, obviously for the younger kids, not so much. Okay, we're not expecting that you paraphrase and you use direct quotations. But for the older kids, and for your future knowledge about essay writing, you must know how to support your writing. You must know. And there are two ways of doing that, by paraphrasing or direct quotations. So let's quickly have a look at paraphrasing. Now let's say you find a really good source from a famous scholar, and their ideas really do support your main points. What do? Obviously, you can't copy single thing that they've said, okay? That's not good writing, that's not good scholarship. You paraphrase, which means that you use the idea from the scholar, you then write it in your own words, and at the end of the sentence, you add the reference. This is a very powerful tool, guys. I cannot tell you how powerful this is. In fact, if you read research papers, all the experts out there in their field will paraphrase. They will use ideas from other scholars to back up and add weight to their points. Obviously, you and I, we're not scholars. Obviously, we haven't done the House of Seminaries for years and years and years. So how do we add weight to what we're going to be saying about the Quran? You do it by paraphrasing. I've given an example here, just very quickly. Okay, I was in a bit of a rush, and this has got nothing to do with your essay, but let's say I wrote this. Many people, when they start an activity, often refer to some powerful personality to achieve success in their endeavors. When Allah starts each verse of the Quran with His own name, He is ultimately teaching humanity that start each task with His name to achieve perfection and success. Now, if I had not, let's say, I forget about Al-Mizan Tabatabai there. If I had said that, and I wasn't a scholar, and I just said that, do you think people would add weight to that point? It's baseless. You're just Sayyid Zain saying something. Sayyid Zain is not a scholar. He's not a doctor. He hasn't got a doctorate in Quranic sciences. But that doesn't mean I can't write about the Quran. This is why we're asking you to write about it. You can write about it, but then you can add weight to your arguments by paraphrasing. And I've done that here. That idea is actually from Allama Tabatabai, the great scholar. Okay, and just by adding that reference at the end, it makes that my idea that I put there makes it have weight. It's given it power. Okay, that is why paraphrasing is so important. Now, direct quotations is when you use when you quote an academic source or reference word for word in your essay, using quotation marks as a reference. Okay. Now, let me make this absolutely clear. When you are at school as well, teachers and judges or your audience are not interested in what other scholars have got to say. They're interested in what you got to say. We want to know, we want to listen to you. We want to see how you write. Don't use direct quotes, especially when you only have 600 to 800 words. It's a very bad habit. Okay. Only it is, and I've said it here, it is preferable to write essays. It is preferable to write essays in your own words. The vast majority of a distinction or high distinction essay would be written entirely in their own words, with many references to the sources that you have used. That is how you're going to get the best marks, people. You should only quote directly from a source when it is absolutely necessary to do so. For example, you're quoting the Quran. You're quoting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Go for it. Excuse me. Okay. But in this essay, do not, let's say you get a really fantastic quote from Allah Tabatabai and you want to directly quote it. Don't. Take the idea from him, write it in your own words, and then paraphrase. That's much more powerful, much more powerful. Okay. All right. The conclusion. Sorry for that. Now, typically speaking, the last section of an academic essay is the conclusion. The conclusion should reaffirm your answer to the question or reaffirm your central ideas and briefly summarize key arguments and points. It does not include new information. Okay, don't include new points or information because you don't have time then to expand on it, right? Then why would you put it in a conclusion? Don't do that. A conclusion has three sections, typically speaking. First is you repeat the thesis statement or you repeat your central point. Now, you won't use the exact same words as in your introduction, but you will try to repeat the point, okay? And then finally, draw together the question or the evidence in the essay body and then conclude it, okay? However, when I wrote this, I didn't like it, so I rewrote it, okay? This is much more powerful, all right? You may be surprised when I say that an essay conclusion is in some ways comparable to a piece of text as emotive as, say, Lady Zainab's powerful speech in the courtyard of Yazid. Sounds ridiculous, maybe, but extravagant comparisons aside, and I have made a pretty extravagant comparison, what I mean here is that the core purpose of an essay conclusion can be compared to the end of any great speech, monologue, or presentation that leaves you feeling something. If you can leave your judges with something powerful, and you can be rhetorical here, if you can leave them with something powerful, then you have come up with the perfect conclusion. So ultimately, when you conclude an essay, you want to engage the reader's emotions, whether that be excitement, surprise, contemplation, or a mix of these or more. And you want to do this in much the same way that Lady Zainab would have done with a captivated audience on that memorable day in Damascus. If you read that speech, look what she says at the end, how powerful it is. And by saying that, then, conclusions are actually probably one of the most hardest parts of an essay to write well. It's an art form. And you're going to improve on this, inshallah. The more you write essays, the more you write conclusions, the better you become at writing conclusions. It's an art form. The more you practice, the better you become at it. So what I'm trying to say is you need to round off your essay effectively. You need to leave your reader with the best possible impression of your work. And you need to somehow recap all your central points without simply repeating yourself. And I know that sounds hard, but it can be done. It can be done, okay? And the more you do it, the more you write conclusions, the better you become. So, and a really good place to do that is read newspaper articles. I know that with the advent of social media and all that, people don't read the newspapers anymore. But pick up a newspaper, read the first page, the first page, okay, and read the conclusion. They have to conclude in a quick and concise manner. Okay, read that. That will give you more practice. It will make you better. Now, what is your audience looking for? Just quickly, so we can get into the Q&A. Now, while reading a student's essay, typically speaking, these are some of the questions that judges or markers often ask themselves. Does this essay directly address the task? Does it present a strong, supported position? Does it use relevant sources appropriately? Is the expression clear and the style appropriate? Is the essay organized coherently? Is there a clear introduction, body, and conclusion? I've given you this because you can actually use these questions to reflect on your own writing before you submit, okay? And this will be available for you, inshallah. That does bring the end to what I'm going to say. Okay, now I'm going to open up things for discussion. All right. So please, if you want to put your hand up or if you want to unmute your mic, I can start answering questions. So anybody desperately want to ask a question, please? Yes, I think that's Hafsa and Abdullah. Bismillah.
Where do we submit it?
Okay, so all that information will be sent to your parents, okay?
Okay, so if you want to submit the essay, in the registration form, there is an email, Abdullah, which is alsiraatacademy1@gmail.com, or you can simply send me a text and I'm going to send you the email address, no problem.
Jazakallah, Brother Abbas. Thank you for answering that question. That was a hard one for me. Thank you. Anybody else? I've got a specific question about what was presented today, or any other question they wanted to ask. Put your hand up and then you can unmute your mic, or you can just unmute your mic and go from there. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to someone put their hand up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, it's gone. Otherwise, forever hold your peace.
Cool.
Okay.
I think all good. Thank
Brother
you everyone
Abbas,
for
I think
joining
that
us.
does bring an end to our...
It's a bit noisy, and my apologies for this. Thank you, Brother Zan and everyone who joined. We have recorded this session. It will be available on AlSiraat website and WhatsApp group. So please refer back to if you want to share it with someone. Thank you all, and please remember that the last date of submission is 22nd of July, 11:59 p.m. Just drop it through my email, and I'm gonna look into this. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz and good night.
Thank you, everybody. Khuda Hafiz, everybody. Thank you.